I think that's why I have, a bit of resentment there, just because, for me, that's what it was. There was already this laid out plan, and during college, I saw that there was other ways that people were, successful, quote unquote successful, or more happy. It wasn't just going through the traditional way, going through college or doing all these things. Like, there's other paths that wasn't just the non-linear path that I could have gone through, instead of just dreading and hating everything about the years that I spent during college and stuff like that.
Why did you choose this world?
I like the colors. I think the nice rain, the petals, the trees, and then specifically this staircase to the door.
The door, Sora, is opened.
Yes, yeah. I think it's just very nice and open, and I think for me personally, I can open up more towards this environment.
Yeah, it seems very calming.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've already sort of exposed your name, but if you would go ahead and let everyone know what you would like to be called.
Yeah, Henry. You can just call me Henry.
Yes. Henry helped out with kind of starting everything and editing the first few videos and does all the thumbnails. So now it is his turn.
Yes.
The reckoning has arrived. So, don't have to give the exact age, but what age range are you in?
Late 20s.
Okay. So, where were you born and where do you live now?
I was born in Colorado, and I'm still living in Colorado.
All right. Did you flip
Specifically
around cities?
Lakewood.
I
I have pretty much only been in the same state, but I like dabbled in a few other areas, but mainly the same state.
What languages do you speak and which are you interested in learning?
Speak English and Vietnamese, and I'm interested in learning Swedish. There's Sweden. Like, I want to learn Swedish. Yeah, and Irish.
Oh. Well, I know a certain somebody who knows Swedish, Safira-chan. But could introduce you to her later. All right, Henry, you fucking know what time it is. It's the most serious question that I know you don't have the answer for. What the hell is your favorite color?
Green.
Well, is it a specific shade of green or why green?
Really any green. I think I like green. Well, I guess how it started off was it started off with nature, just seeing greenery, and then I don't know, I guess also, like, just growing up, not a lot of people like green, and I was like, what? But I like green. Green looks cool, and so it kind of just stuck out because.
Oh, geez, sounds like you had a fucking biased class. They're like, oh, no, what favorite color is blue and red? And you're just like, no, but mine is green.
Blue, pink, black. Yeah. I was pretty much the only one that liked green.
On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you like yourself? 0 being, I never tell the truth. I'm never honest with myself, and 10 being I'm always truthful with myself.
I'm gonna have to say, with myself, I'd say 5.
Hmm. And why would you say that you feel like you're in the middle?
I think why I chose 5 is because there's most days where I just, really just pep talk or tell myself things are good, but in reality it's not as good, and I'm just kind of just lying to myself. But then there are some days where it's all genuine and it's good.
So it kind of sounds like a bit
Nowadays are like that.
okay, like a safety net in a way, like, fake
Right.
it till you make it almost.
Exactly. Yeah. We're just gonna get into just get into it. We'll just get into
We're
this.
just
topic.
we're just getting into it. We're just diving straight in.
We're just gonna dive into this. So, my recently, and when I mean recently, it's within the last few years, 3 years, I found out that my dad raped my mom, and I was the outcome of that.
Wow, what a way to start off. God damn. You said you found this out recently.
So within the past 3 years.
And you're in your late
And
20s.
really the only people the only people who know about it are obviously my parents and myself. So I think maybe my grandma too.
Well, damn. Let's start with what do you think about that first? What do you think about it?
So I feel like it
Well, you said feel.
explains a lot of. Oh,
You want to start with feels first?
okay, yeah. So I'm disgusted that happened. I feel terrible for my mom. It was unwarranted, and it happened, and for me personally, I just feel like crap that I'm brought into this world that way when it was non-consensual. And because of that, because she got pregnant, then marriage had to happen. I just feel like it was in a way it brought a lot of other things along, but for me I just feel like it was I personally I just feel icky about the whole situation, and just not good. I feel bad for my mom. I feel bad for anybody who was involved, like my grandma, maybe my aunt, my uncle, I'm not sure. But it's just the dynamic it causes within the family now that I notice it, So
what I feel like I'm hearing a lot from that. We'll start with
yeah.
So family dynamic, I'm hearing that it's love less.
Right. Yeah. My don't have the best relationship with my dad in general. And it's not to say my mom hates me because of this fact, but she does love me and I love her. It's just sucks that this happened. I think it sucks because she did mention, she had other people that she was interested in at the time too, not just my dad, that potentially, she could have been with and maybe lived another kind of life. But got stuck here with me. And I think my dad's kind of like just a stereotypical man who doesn't, share his emotions, or everything. He takes everything in and
Mr.
just holds
Stoic.
it.
Oh,
Right.
No emotions.
Exactly. No emotions, super stoic. Doesn't want to talk about his feelings, doesn't want to let anybody. And then if you talk about feelings near him, I mean, he just blows it off, or like, suck it up.
So he runs.
And so
he hides.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. He runs, he hides, or avoids those kind of conversations. And so I think because of that, growing up, I don't have now I have empathy, but growing up I definitely didn't have any empathy. So it was a work in progress on how things worked, because of the situation, my family situation, it just, I couldn't process how to love, or how to like know what is unconditional love, or what every kind of emotion is.
So tell me if this sounds familiar. You
Okay.
started to feel things, and he was like, "Hey, what the fuck, boy? You trying to feel? Suck it up. Shut the fuck up." And then enough of that happened, and it's like if your emotions were a volume dial, they just got turned all the way down, so then you didn't feel anything. And then emotions became impossible to process.
Yeah. So, okay, some background information. I am Asian, so there is a stereotype with stereotypical Asian families, and some of it is true. Not gonna lie, but that's just coming from my experience. The stuff that's happened to me. But there is like some sort of standard. It seems like there's a lot of gossip, and there's a lot of comparing and judging with other families with kids and stuff. So growing up there, I always was judged with other families, and if I did these accomplishments, they would like brag and show off. But if some other kid did something else, they're like, oh, well, why couldn't you be him? And then I would feel crappy about it, but they would disregard that and just tell me to do better. And so a lot of these feelings that I had growing up were repressed or just disregarded and wasn't important. And so I feel like my development was kind of off in a lot of ways.
How would you explain that?
So, when let's say my dad went to I don't know how to explain that. So one thing I do tell a lot of people just about my past is like, I don't know how to act in certain social situations, or if somebody is venting to me or something. Before, I wouldn't know how to react, and it'd just be awkward because I wasn't really good with social stuff, and I literally would have to Google how to be in certain situations. That's how messed up I think my development was. So I had to just Google how to do certain things, which like how to be happy for a friend, how should I be during funerals, how should I be a good friend, how could I be a good person, or things. Because growing up, if I did any good things that I thought was good, it was disregarded. And so I think um, I just don't have a good grasp back then of like what's good, what's bad. Everything's just kind of neutral, and I kind of had to just sort of figure out what is right and wrong, online.
So, you know what that sounds like a lot of is the term cognitive empathy, and just sort of trying to figure out how to emulate emotions as opposed to actually feeling them, because you had learned that, feeling your emotions are bad, suppress them into oblivion, and your compass for so many things in life is just broken. And so the only thing you have left to go on is the compass that people give you, and you have to Google it and
Exactly.
do research.
Yeah. Cognitive empathy. That was the term I was trying to think of. Yeah, like I literally had to just, look at how other people react, or look at how shows or movies, how people interact, how characters interacted, and then emulate that. And then it got to a certain point where I just felt so fake. I mean, I still feel fake in a lot of ways. But I'm slowly just unraveling myself and trying to just be me, but it just doesn't seem genuine.
Yeah, it sounds like if you've worn the mask for so long and it's kind of like glued on, you're really struggling to take it off and be able to differentiate between, if this is me or if this is the mask. Is the mask still on?
Right. Yeah, is the mask still on? Exactly.
That kind of goes...
Not sure if the mask is...
It goes with your avatar.
Yeah, go ahead. I know. I think that's why I chose that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's that freaking archetype. We unconsciously choose it.
Yep.
Same with Big B for me.
Yep. Yeah, so... And I think when I got to college, or maybe like end of high school ish, I started to, I think I got sick of just not being able to empathize towards people, or just being genuine. And I also was really sheltered too. Like, my family is kind of racist, and so we did have a lot of different kinds of neighbors, and they wouldn't want me to like hang out with the neighborhood kids, even though I did. But so I just I didn't have a lot of social interactions growing up, and the only interactions I had was really at school. But I was kind of like that kid that didn't know how to talk or do things, or was comfortable in any social setting. Just kind of just tried to fake everything. And try to people please too. So
tell us a little bit more
try to
about that
get
one.
people to believe. Yeah.
How does
More about the
people-pleasing-
people pleasing?
Yeah, how does people pleasing show up in your life?
So I think it also stems from, I feel like everything stems from the past, but like childhood, because I just didn't get enough just love, or just love from my parents, or just
Or they would only give you love if
attention,
you were
maybe.
better than the neighbor kids, like you got the highest grades.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, the only way to like really show appreciation in the household was doing a really good job at everything, So the only way for me to so in order for me to adapt to social situations, I had to like figure out what people liked, and then try to maybe excel at it, or try to come from a place of relatability, either by Googling their interest and trying to understand social pop culture or things like that, what's trendy. um you know, like learning about sports stuff, even though I didn't like the stuff, learning just so I can actually have people to talk to, or um, just get that exposure of social interaction where I can't get that at home.
Man, I could see how that might be a bit of a double-edged sword, because in one way I kind of hear it's like you put in a lot of work to be as good as you could be for other people, but at the same time it was sort of gluing the mask on more and more to where it never truly felt as though you were being authentic.
Yeah. So, I mean, only recently was I able to sort of take my mask off and be comfortable with who I am, and being able to share myself and bring it to the world, and like, this is me, you can take it or leave it. But that took a lot of years to be able to do that. Being a little bit comfortable with myself.
What would you say?
Yeah, but like growing.
Oh, good.
I was just saying, growing up I definitely didn't have my own individuality. It was just other people's interests that I just took a hold of and try to relate.
Damn, man, that Avatar, man. The nobody, no identity, no true soul, no individuality, tied to the darkness.
Yeah. Tied to the darkness.
Well, I mean, so it sounds as though identity is like a major buzzer for like something that you're trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, I think because again, it also stems from the past. Like, if I were to share any interest to my parents or family, they would disregard it, So, be it like cartoons or things that I enjoy, maybe drawing or
what? You not doctor, lawyer, or engineer? You not my son. Goodbye.
Exactly. So like, and so with that, if I had just that feeling that if I shared my interest with others, it would be disregarded, or it's shameful to bring that up to other people. No one would like that you're into that stuff, even though that's not true. But that's, even now I still have that feeling of like uncomfortableness of sharing things that I like.
Oh. And this is just like with hobbies and just things that you would
hobbies people? And right, yeah, just like card games. I liked Pokemon cards growing up, but my family were like, oh, Pokemon cards, ew, whatever, you're lame. And then and then I think I might have been shot down in school too. I think I talked to someone, maybe tried experimenting, like, oh hey, I like Pokemon cards, and they're like, oh, that's lame. Sports cards is where it's at, or so I guess maybe just being shot down too many times, either of from family, close ones, or just people, random people, just kind of closed me up even more.
So it sounds like it was kind of reinforcing some of the negativity and restrictions that in the box that your parents are kind of trying to place you in. So like, if they didn't agree with something, they're like, nope, yeah, they'll take you out of the Pokemon card box and put you in the high grades box. We don't go there.
Yeah, exactly. So everything was just all my interest was not important. So the only thing that was important was being on that high level of society, you know, being that doctor or being someone that produces fame in some way, or being able to show off to people that are not important.
Status
Being a
symbol.
product status symbol, exactly. Yeah.
So you must
So
not dishonor your family, Henry.
Yeah, I can't dishonor the family. It's so stupid. So stupid.
Yeah, you know, it's hard when, like, you know, in the counseling world I hear like the whole cultural competency bit, and like some people will try and tell you to adhere to these cultures, but what I commonly come across is that a lot of people, especially the kids from these cultures, actually don't want to be a part of it. They want to get away from it, especially those who are in America. I've heard it from Hispanics, I hear it from Asians, and it's not to say there aren't good things about those cultures, but like, we've just kind of come to a new era of mental health and kind of figured out what things are unhealthy, no matter what culture it is. So you're gonna say something?
Yeah, and I don't want to disregard other races, because I definitely see it in, you know, every other race too happening. This thing happening, and it's so sad because, you know, I know growing up with the other family kids that were in the same situation, and we were both in the same room. We're just like, you know, we look at each other like, this is not what we want. Why are you you know, we just want to play with each other, but you guys are here talking about like, oh look, he has all these awards and he has you know, like this going on and blah blah blah, and it's like, no, that's so toxic. And, you know, only now I can see it, obviously. Growing up, like, that's kind of what I took, and it's still, you know, like, so dumb. It's, you know, with all this stuff that happened, I just felt like I was so behind in how a person should operate, or just because, you know, I just felt like I just recently learned how to sort of be a person. And when I say recently, like, you know, within the past six years.
Let's see.
Yeah.
So one thing, because like I'm trying to remember all that. One thing, it sounds as though, so feeling behind, sounds as though it's pretty damn unfair to be put in a race with people who can go 200 miles an hour and you can only go 100.
Well, it's not like a race analogy. It's more like, these social things that people did in high school, I'm only now experiencing it in my 20s.
Oh, so you're
or
saying
these things that I
forgot.
Yeah, the you know, these social interactions, or these things, events that, you know, you see in movies, TV shows, I'm only experiencing it, you know, just recently. And it's I just feel like it's, I guess it's fine, but the same people that I see that did already experience these are now just on another whole, I guess, like, section in life whereas I'm still kind of figuring where I'm at with where I fit. I don't know, it's weird.
Well, so I mean, like at first it sounded as though you feel emotionally underdeveloped.
Yeah.
But I might maybe say, you know, life's not a race, and you know you can experience different things at different times. You know, especially because it's nuanced in a way that feels right for you, and it's unfortunate that your emotion dial was set to 0, and only now is it actually turned up loud enough to where you can kind of feel more of like what it's like to be human. But I certainly wouldn't say that makes you behind. So, but I would have to ask, like, how specifically does that make you feel behind?
As in, like, I just don't have to Google things, how to act certain ways, you know? It's not, I guess it's not to say that these emotions maybe aren't natural, because I don't know, maybe it's a developmental kind of thing, but having that exposure, I don't have to Google how to act in certain ways, and I feel better or more comfortable with myself talking with others.
So it sounds as though now that your emotions can be felt, and you have, you know, a compass to kind of give you empathy and more of a clearer picture for how to respond, that you start to get some experience or social experience, and you can kind of use that rather than needing to Google things, and you feel more comfortable and at peace and more of yourself because you're actually feeling and you have something to go off of.
Yeah, because I feel like I was just such an apathetic person growing up, and just and I wouldn't even say apathetic, but you know, because I did get sad a lot, but then I feel like at some point it just got repressed, and then I just turned apathetic, and only now I'm kind of just opening that up and trying to am not as apathetic.
Yeah, so the way that stress could be explained is that at some point from what you've said in your childhood, you had colorful emotions, and you felt things, and you disagreed with things, and you know, you had all like just beautiful colors of all these things going on, but then you were sort of taught that everything must be black and white, and you denied your emotions, you suppressed them, and that in itself, that act in itself is very stressful, and you know, you are invalidating your emotions and your wants and needs, and eventually that stress is going to become overwhelming, and then if that happens for too long, that leads to depression, because you'll numb yourself out, and then you won't understand why life is worth living, and things will just be very neutral and bleak, silent almost, and it's hard to process emotions.
That's all true. It's just when you know, like earlier in my life, I just felt it was just routine almost, and mundane, and there was just nothing that would really cheer me up other than like video games and stuff, just being able to escape.
Hell,
those obviously so I mean, obviously those evoke, like, you know, the dopamine, and I'm able to experience like some happiness, but it's just temporary. It's just like this band-aid
fleeting
that I it's just very fleeting. It's not permanent. There's no, and that's the thing that I was not understanding growing up, was this temporary happiness, like that quick fix
Yeah.
versus this, you know, the longevity. Like what's going to be the one that actually makes me content or being able to live and sustain myself, where I'm like more happy and all
So
that.
I would sort of translate that to, you knew what happiness was. It's that quick fix, that come and go. But it sounds as though you were very, very confused about what fulfillment looked like. The slow burn,
Right, fulfillment.
content, it lasts, you kind of, and then also kind of talking a bit about being at peace, with yourself and your emotions, and finding that fulfillment and being content. So it sounds as though fulfillment and peace have just been missing in your life.
Yes. Yeah. And it's still happening. Trying to find out that part. But I know now, like, it's not a race. There's definitely, I'm still young. I still have time to do whatever I want and to try out things to find that peace.
So fulfillment.
But I know it has something to do with drawing.
No. Yeah. So I mean, like, we've talked about that off video. Just drawing animations, inspiring people through videos similar to Shelter and other animated shorts, to kind of help people, lighten up and see the better side of life and inspire.
Yeah.
So fulfillment kind of comes with knowing your wants and needs and values, because if you know your values, it's easier to kind of figure out what you want, and then when you do things you don't like, it really helps expand the your sight of the map of your interests. So if you were going to apply for a job and you knew that like a lot of your values would sort of be crossed or not met, so like you wouldn't be able to be creative, or you'd be micromanaged, or maybe you like to be independent and you're working in a team, then you wouldn't choose to work that job. And as such, when it comes to knowing your values, if you know your values, it can be easier to kind of construct a vision. So like you had said it before with creating animated shorts, similar to some things you've seen, and but like with your ideas and your twist and your artistic perspective, and kind of helping influence people and making things better. That would be the vision, and that because your values would say, well, I like helping people, I like being creative, I like being authentic, or independent, and like these are all values that you'd have to sit down and figure out, oh, I actually really do put this as number 1 or number 2 or number 5.
Right.
So
right.
Like as we kind of get into like how we navigate finding our identity, this is sort of the things that I'm touching on right now. And like you can take like a value test, something where you sort of rank them up against each other, and then from there, you could sort of retrace your steps in life and figure out where you were the most elevated in what you were feeling, and that may be difficult if you've been suppressing for a while. So going back to what you said about feeling behind, it's like, well, that's a little bit difficult because now I can feel, but even if I try to retrace the things that I've done, I felt apathetic at the time, so that's kind of a mystery. Unless you sort of ask other people who might have seen you smile or been happy, or they might say like, wow, you actually really enjoyed that, or that's the happiest and most energetic that I've seen you. So
yeah, those moments are the ones that I still think about. You know, the ones that when people point out something that I didn't mean to share, or, you know, when I am just in this spot, those are the ones that I do notice because it's not something I'm familiar with.
mm,
And also, you know, going back to the values stuff, I think for me it was also hard, along with, you know, not knowing with, you know, the whole environment I was in, but also I also had a lot of intrusive thoughts, you know,
huh.
unwanted thoughts, you know, back then also, that clouded a lot of judgment of my judgment that I thought where I should be heading to, or, you know, things like that too.
Well, what were these intrusive thoughts? What did they look like?
You know, is one is, you know, depression, just not knowing where I want to do this, the environment I was in, the situation. I just felt like I didn't belong anywhere, or didn't know what my future looked like. I just I didn't see myself in the future
Hmm.
of the, you know, the world. Yeah, a I was just because I was
an
held
empty
in the
shell?
stand of,
A
I was an
nobody?
empty shell, but also, yeah, I was supposed to be, you know, some person that my parents were to show off to, you know, the status symbol. But really, I didn't feel like that at all during high school or, you know, early college, and it just made me depressed because I was like, well, what's the point then? Like, you know, so these intrusive thoughts, you know, was obviously somewhere like just like constantly my dad. Some were money, financial, just because I was constantly bombarded of money talk all around the house, of, you know, successful, and it was all intertwined, you know, being successful and money was intertwined. You know, that was like the same thing in my household. Um, and just depression. So just all those things kind of just kept on replaying a lot during my early adult life. And well, I guess no, not early adult, like kind of end of high school, early college, kind of that era was just all these thoughts just kept replaying.
So if I'm hearing this right, no matter what you do, where you're going, who you're with, it felt daunting when these thoughts would come in, because it would be, who am I? Am I gonna like this? Is it gonna make me happy? Is it gonna make enough money? Is it gonna be good enough? Am I gonna hate it? Who am I?
Yeah, you know, like things, the things that and it sucks, but this thing I kind of carried with myself is things have to have some value. It has to have some value, or else it's worthless.
It has to have monetary
and,
value?
you know, like, right, monetary value. So, and it sucks because that's what I was taught, or not even taught, but like that's just the environment I was in. Like okay, like Pokemon cards, for example. Like that's that everybody was like, oh, blah blah blah, and then
Zero
nowadays
value.
yeah, you know, it has to have some value. If I buy something, it has to have some sort of monetary value in some way.
So no
You know,
sentimentalism
either
allowed. You're not allowed to love something just
right.
because.
Exactly. Like it has to have some value in some way, either by empowering, or not even empowering me, but like making me a a more getting close to that social status symbol, all right, or monetary value, the resale value should be good, or something along those lines. Like
So
it has to
what's the resale value on Henry's 3-year-old macaroni art? Is that a
zero. It's a flat zero, maybe even the negatives.
Oh god. God, so I guess that one's not going up on the fridge. It ain't worth any money. Damn.
No, it's going straight to the trash.
God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so and it sucks because it's some of those things that grew up with, it's still with me, and even though I don't want it to be, it's kind of ingrained, and it's hard to kind of break that thing because it has to be like constant reminders, like, oh no, this isn't what it should be for, or I'd have to constantly try to reevaluate my decisions, like making sure that it's for the right reasons, not
Yeah, and
for
Henry,
that.
I would sort of align this with with the vision therapy principles that line of work, but so you kind of have to do things very consciously at first, and then it starts to become semi-conscious, and then it starts to become automatic. And in the same respect, with positive affirmations and cognitive reframes and structuring and practice and repetition, you're just consistent. Eventually it will be reprogrammed, and what I'm hearing is it's insanely difficult, very hard to reprogram the things that that's just been battered into your head since like you were as old as you had memory, basically 2-3 years old.
Right. Yeah, and this is why I also just feel behind, because I'm restructuring myself, or trying to, it's all this stuff. It just feels it's overwhelming, but I also it's like needed. Yeah.
Well, better now than later. There's plenty of people who are into life that haven't even started their journey yet. They're sort of stuck in the generational quicksand, drowning people in very toxic values and cultural systems that just kind of inhibit people's ability to live a happy, meaningful, fulfilling, peaceful life.
Yeah, I think I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of people throughout my life that helped me actually see what life could be worth in some ways. And so I think I'm very fortunate to see that and be able to understand some concepts and try to get out of the system that I was put in. Like pop culture references, like, oh, I get it now, things like that. It's like, oh, I get this idiom, like, oh, I know what that means now. I didn't get it before, but now I get it. Yeah.
And what's it feel like to now? I mean, I'd be bold to say, what does it feel like to be caught up now?
It's kind of, it's nice that I'm able to just open up and be able to have conversations, but it makes me always reflect back in my past and just feel bad about myself that I had to go through all that, and I'm still having the repercussions still happen to me. Those battle scars are still there, and it comes up sometimes. So yeah.
How present is your past?
Oh, it's pretty present. It's pretty prevalent, especially, I mean, yeah, it's pretty prevalent. There's a lot of, and it's still, and it's like the intrusive thoughts that I'm still trying to work towards. So, and a lot of that's from the past. It's a work in progress, but it's definitely still present.
Do you feel like you are making permanent progress, or do you have friends and family that sort of still try to enforce the same principles?
Oh, there's definitely progress. At this point in my life, my parents don't really care, and I don't care about what they think. It's, you know, it's all about my improvements and like what I want. So yeah, but it's still a work in progress.
Yeah. And no matter how late you start, I'm happy to hear that, you know, you've broken some pretty thick barriers to beginning your journey. So kind of getting out of that, you know, parental iron fist, be this way or else. And, you know, though you still have some of the cognitive repetitions, the intrusive thoughts, the, you know, the things that you've been programmed to you know, think and do, basically, you're kind of starting to unwire it, reprogram, you know, hit the reset button. You can feel your emotions now, and it's almost as though you're actually starting to play the game again. You know, you paused it at, you know, say 3-4 years old when you were told that you're not allowed to feel. And, you know, at some point recently, you're like, oh, well, let me press resume. I've been paused for a long time.
It's not even that. It's more like the devs just keep on replaying the same level over and over again. Now I'm just kind of getting to, you know, I'm like, oh, there's the next stage. Right? Because the devs are just, oh no, you're gonna keep doing the same thing over and over again. But now I can see the next stage ahead.
It's a beautiful way of putting it. Now I can move on.
Yeah. I can see the potential. I can see the final boss soon. Well, then maybe not final boss, but...
No, I was gonna say final boss. Tell me about it. What does he look like?
Not the final boss, but you know.
The first boss?
Mid boss.
Mid boss? Okay. What does mid boss look like?
Mid boss looks like the next phase with the drawing stuff, the animation.
Okay. So finding, you know, a lot more of your passions and just things that you would want to do as a either hobby or career, and just kind of figuring out how to make it happen.
Right. Right.
So, upbringing.
Getting towards that fulfillment.
Yeah. Upbringing, fulfillment, identity, just the unfinished business, mental health, kind of working through the scars. Is there anything else that you feel you would like to highlight or talk about?
There's a lot that I could talk about, but I'm drawing a blank.
If you had to pick the top 3 things that were absolutely
okay. So
important.
here's one. I mean, and this still happens, but And it's still with the empathy stuff, but with death, I'm really bad at grieving with I just don't know how to respond or help out people in some way when they're grieving, or yeah,
Is
just
this
the
being
grieving process.
compassionate for others?
Right, in that way. I like to say I tread pretty lightly on I try to be mindful of like what I say around others and tread lightly on certain topics. But with death or any grieving kind of situations, I'm just don't know what to say or how to process. I just don't know how to make the situation not better, but how to provide some relief in some way for the other person, for the other party, or whatever.
Okay, I mean, well, I could help with that one, but like, how does this relate to yourself? Are you able to process people that you've lost in your life?
So I'm fortunate enough to not anyone in my household, or not household, but like family, immediate family, extended family. I didn't have to deal with death, but people that I know have died, and they're not close, but well, okay, so like this is an example. There was a family friend that my mom's friend. He had a kid. So the kid was with the grandpa, and the dad was driving, backing up, and heading to work. Door was open, grandpa wasn't looking, but the kid was running out to the car, and he ran over his kid. And so I went to the funeral. Obviously he's devastated, and for me in that situation, I felt really bad for him, and I just felt like I couldn't do anything for him because I didn't know how to appropriately react, or how to just be there or provide at least any kind of comfort for the person.
And what did Google tell you?
Google told me to just be there and listen.
I mean, yeah. People go through and process grief, differently. Some people laugh about it. Some people will be silent. Some people will shut it out. Some people will go on like a massive processing spree, cry their heart out.
Yeah.
And
I think I just feel, for me in those kind of situations, I just feel bad that I can't provide any comfort. And
what do you do in those situations? Like, how have you responded before? Walk us through a time where somebody died and you were there.
Like on the spot? Like
yeah, somebody passed away and they're grieving, and you wanted to comfort them. Did you visit them? Did you see them? Did you go to a funeral? Like, walk us through a situation where you're there.
So this I wouldn't say friend, but acquaintance during high school died when I was in college. And he was like one of those kids that during high school was pretty much everybody knew him. You know, he was a fun guy. He, you know, tried. He got along with everybody and made people happy. You know, he was a singer. Did a lot of singing for people, and you know, it was always a good time. But obviously, you know, everybody has their demons or just things that they deal with, and he had family issues. So I mean, long story short, he killed himself, and it was devastating because a lot of my friends were really close with him, and specifically one person. And so what I did was I just went, you know, heard the news on from another person, directly went to the friend's house, and I just did research beforehand. So, you know, I did Google beforehand on what to do. And obviously what it told me was sit and listen, you know, hug them, do all these things. And because I think this stems from not being prepared in situations. And I didn't want to come unprepared, as in like I didn't want to go in and be insensitive to like what they're feeling, or you know, things like that.
So you wanted an emotional
Or make them
compass
feel
to know
worse.
how to respond without Google.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, I guess yeah, in that I don't know.
Well, what did you end up doing?
Well, no, that's what I did. So I followed Google's advice and the internet's advice, and I went over, you know, verbatim, did what step by step to the T, and it seemed to work out.
So what about that do you feel is not...
I just feel like I'm not human. I
Yeah.
just feel like I'm a robot because I keep, you know, I'm not like, it doesn't come naturally for me, and so I don't.
Well, it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't come naturally for me.
It doesn't mean it's not coming now. Now that you've separated yourself from the toxicity, the pressures of shutting away your emotions and starting to open up, because there was a time when you were younger where it came naturally, more naturally than I'm willing to bet that you remember.
Yeah.
And now
I mean, I yeah.
it's coming back.
Yeah.
So
I think, I mean, with that, I just feel like the thing maybe that I was trying to persuade was like I just feel like a robot, but also having to be on time and being prepared at all times.
well, I'd say that might stem from people pleasing and getting high grades, and to excel to such a high degree, you have to be prepared all the time.
Right.
But Henry, part of being human is actually not being prepared. It's actually being vulnerable, being flawed, making mistakes, because then you let everyone else know around you that yeah, you are human, not perfect. You're not always prepared. It's more relatable. They can sort of breathe around you because, you know, they're not subconsciously being held to a higher standard because you are just always so prepared and doing everything so perfectly, so then they feel inadequate.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something I've been doing I've been like being okay with mistakes and showing people like, oh yeah, I messed up. Oops. Try again next time, or like things like that. Like I can. It's, I don't know. Yeah.
No, I think that's a good point, because part of being human is just a lot of acceptance, letting go, feeling, breathing with the emotion, understanding what you really want, and kind of following it.
Yeah. I think that's one of my issues too, is not being able to let go. I think I hold on to things a lot, especially thoughts and things like that. It's hard for me to move past things. I feel like I hold on a lot of different things, and I'm not able to free myself and just keep holding on to these thoughts that are not good and just like not healthy for me to just keep holding on to, but I can't seem to just be letting go, or not being able to so it's all about that self-love, and that's something that I never really knew what to do, or like know what that felt like. Forgiving myself and things like that.
Well, I mean, how the hell could you when your emotions were suppressed, and like because of that you didn't really know what your wants and needs and values are? So like that's kind of like your life is rigged, and like now you've taken the you've kicked the machine, and now it's like rigged, mechanical piece got dislodged, and now you're actually able to play the game fairly. Now you're actually making progress, and you're moving on to the next stages.
Yeah. But self-love is something that's I still struggle with. It just I'm definitely more comfortable than I was before with everything that I do, but forgiving myself, that's something that it's so hard for me to do. Or forgive my past so that I can move on with things. Because there was a lot of stuff that I did in the past that I wasn't happy about. Looking back, and I just can't forgive myself, and I think it's all because like the past, like holding myself to like this standard, and I can't forgive myself.
Well, how could
like
you?
It has to be like this scar that reminds me of this.
Does it make enough money? Does it have value?
Exactly.
Is it important to your parents? Because if it's not, you ain't getting no love. And because that's all you've ever known, and you've never, felt your own emotions and your own wants and needs, the only thing that you know is what your parents want, and that's the only way of operating and functioning for you.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah, it's funny, and it's weird. People compliment on how caring and empathetic I am nowadays with a lot of different things. And people tell me like, oh, I'm such a great listener, and things like that, and I just find it's fake. Like I just feel it's not genuine, like with the mask thing, it's weird.
Well,
because I don't know if it's like I feel like it's genuine, and but at the same time I'm just I know that it's also through the exposure and experience
So
that I've had in the past or the research I've
yeah,
done.
yeah. Cause I mean, like, what did you just say right there? Did you notice that?
No, what did
I
I say?
feel like it's genuine.
Yeah, I feel like it's genuine.
You
Yeah.
didn't have to Google that one, did you?
No. Well, I guess yeah. I didn't have to Google that, but I don't know if it's genuine because I don't know if it's like from the experience or the exposures I've had in the past that accumulated over time where it's become like automatic or what it is versus it's actually genuine.
Yeah, and that's
It's
part
hard
of
for me to differentiate.
what you're kind of learning right now is social cues and honesty and being able to pick up what people are feeling. Emotional attunement. Emotional attunement is the absolute number one skill in relationships, whether platonic or romantic. Being able to be connected with somebody, know what they're feeling, and respond, in return to, if it's anger or sadness or grief or whatnot. Like, there's different things that would be more helpful than the other, and that would help them feel better. But at least in that instance,
Yeah.
whether it's the first time or if it's just your intuition, your guts telling you something feels right, you at least felt it.
Yeah. that there's some videos that I've watched and interviews on, why I am this kind of way, or not why, but like people who have kind of are the same way sort of. And one thing that popped up was like sociopaths. At one point I thought I was like, am I a sociopath? Because like, all the things that I've mentioned, I just felt like I just don't. It seems like I would be considered, but I'm not like a serial killer or anything. But like, not empathetic,
Well, Henry, you
not
were
knowing how
taught to
to.
detach from your emotions. There's a
Yeah,
scale
I know.
for sociopathy, and it sounds as though your father was like, hey fucker, he's like, don't forget about fucking emotions. Like, you're going all the way left on the scale and you ain't feeling shit, and when you don't feel shit, you can't empathize with other people, and you're damn right. You're
Yeah.
gonna be a fucking sociopath, or you're gonna be very tilted on the sociopathy scale. But now it sounds as though
Yeah.
you're probably more so in between, if not leaning more towards empathetic or compassionate.
Yeah. I want to say so, but I don't know if it's also just, all the XP that I've gained throughout the years of just the exposure. I leveled up. I leveled up the skill, but it's not. Yeah, it's just the.
Well, I mean, how's it feel to kind of recognize that you have leveled up in your emotional intelligence?
Well, no, I meant like, I think I leveled up more on like social cues, but not like really my emotional intelligence. I'm able to, have. I still just don't feel like it's genuine, but
Well, I mean, it sounds like it's new.
I want to say it is. I don't know. Like, well, yeah, I'd say it's pretty recent. Like, within the past 3-6 years, like, is when I really to start opening up towards these kind of experiences. I think a lot of it was during my college years, but it's still a work in progress because I'm still differentiating between what's genuine, what's not genuine. Authenticity, being
Yeah.
authentic.
I mean, like, it would be really hard for you to kind of know who you are and what you value if your emotions are basically turned off for like the first 20-25 years of your life. Like, of course, you know, it makes sense for things to be very unexplored. You know, as though your map to your game of life is very fogged up, like, you know, minus a couple waypoints here and there. But let's say that you can't discover any more of the map until you learn how to feel, or there's certain regions that are restricted until you can learn how to feel. And now you're starting to discover those regions of your map in life. And it's very confusing or overwhelming or difficult terrain, but it sounds as though you're managing, and you're kind of getting more experience with navigating those you know, different areas of emotions and how you pick up social cues in other people.
Yeah, and I mean, it's true. Like I'm just it's very slight in noticing what is genuine and what's not genuine when I present like myself or empathize with others. Just catching myself, noticing like what feels right, what feels wrong, or what's natural, what's not natural.
Yeah. And like, there's no way anyone would expect you to be super good or anything perfect, like seeing how as you just kind of started this journey not too long ago, and other people have you know, had been fortunate enough to not be thrust into the same situation, and they had more time to feel and experience and kind of process and figure things out.
Yeah. I was always so envious with other families growing up. Like whenever I went to another person's house and see how they interacted with each other. Just like, wow, that just like from the movies or TV shows, they just doesn't happen in my house.
Wow, that sounds familiar. Seeing other people.
Yeah, that sounds real familiar.
And what a good family looks like, and why can't our family be like that?
Yeah, and it's not to say I tried to, you know, quote unquote, fix the family, like, or try to like push towards normalcy, quote unquote normalcy within the family. Like, I you know, I tried to like do these interventions too with them, but it's never gone too well. You know, my most of my family members are pretty hot-headed people, so
short fuse,
always having to tread lightly. Yeah, super short fuse.
Yeah, I mean, I'd reckon that they're hurting inside, you know, with their own battles, and the way they have just kind of learned to cope is to, you know, treat their children as trophies, and if you violate the cultural norms or, you know, my rules, I'm going to unleash my wrath, so that'll teach you to ever feel or have a difference of opinion. Damn it, Henry.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I did go against the norm. Like, you know, I didn't finish college. You know, and that's something that's very
Asian. College, not doctor. What?
Yeah. So I definitely went against the norm. It's not not normal to not do that. And I think one for me, it just didn't make sense because I didn't really know what I really wanted to do, and I didn't want to like
you
know, I went to school for computer science. Yeah, you know, I was just like, I don't know if I really wanted to do this. And you know, this is like a whole nother topic, but like, I think like most people are just too young right after high school to be, determine like what they actually want to do in life, and they just like constantly switch what they want to do, and then that just causes this financial like load onto them. But that's like a whole nother thing.
So figuring out what you want to do in life is pretty expensive, eh? For some people.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Unless, of course, you get innovative with finding shadow mentorships, internships,
Scholarships, yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, like you find ways to sort of get experience for free, and figure out what the field is like,
yeah.
and like how you like it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Networking. Yeah, just I just think the whole thing is kind of dumb. I mean, yeah. It's almost scammy in a way. Like I don't, I would say it's rare for people to know what they actually want to do in life at that time, And then I think it's also dumb when they ask you when you're young, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's so
Well,
it's
I mean,
not
like,
that's not right.
so, well, what specifically about it do you feel is not right?
um it's just it's more like, what do you want to be versus um what kind of person you want to be, or what makes, like it's more superficial versus like what it takes to be a good person.
So you feel as though
It's more emphasized on those kind of things where, and I'm not saying those aren't important, but everybody's like, oh, the kids like, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a president, but like, if that's the case, like, why don't we see more astronauts? Why don't we see more, and that's a whole nother, but I just feel like kids, it's not a healthy way to go about it.
So I'm kind of hearing that because it doesn't feel authentic to you, or realistic for the developmental milestone that these kids are typically at, that it almost sounds as though you're identifying with some what's the word I'm looking for? Resentment. You feel a bit of resentment toward kids being told that, because you were told what to do, how to be, and you remember how that made you feel, and having your emotions shut off into oblivion, and it sounds as though like you're just really discontent with seeing that happen to anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I think that's the reason why I wanted to make these kind of animation videos, to show really particularly to the kids, the ones that maybe are going through similar situations or worse situations or whatever situation, and show them that it's not just this way. There's more involved, and it's more complicated than that. Make them think a little bit more and understand complex things in a more simple ways, so that they can understand.
So I'm kind of hearing teaching them how to follow their own heart and compass, how to learn how to question things, how to kind of find more ways to comprehend things rather than have them be overcomplicated and then fall into unnecessary confusion. So
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the things growing up was false hope and already set um like the social cue, or the you had to go through school, college, career, family, kids, grow old, retire, blah 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 blah.
so teaching
But there's
kids
then
that there's
there's
more to
multiple
life than conforming to societal expectations or parent expectations.
Right, yeah. So, because there's a lot more to life than whatever, the society needs. I feel like you can do whatever you want. You can still, give back to society in whatever way. It doesn't have to be the way that schools are emphasizing.
So
Or the way society is emphasizing.
going where other people aren't going, not following the given path, taking the time to understand yourself and what you're feeling and what you want, and listening to that.
Yeah. Because so yeah, like during college was very an interesting experience, because there was a lot of situations where I just questioned a lot of different things, just because I would hear all the time, like, oh man, I hate school, like I don't want to go to school, I don't really know if I want to do this. And I'm like, why are you wasting your time doing this then? Like, what, you're not, if you don't want it, maybe you should take the time to just figure it out versus just doing it and then wasting more time and then doing it later. And then it happens all the time, like during high school, when they gave you that sheet of paper and like told you choose your major. All right, this is it, like that's your major, that's what you're gonna be for the rest of your life.
Oh, the rest
It
of your
just
life?
felt very well, that's what it felt like. Like you choose your major and this is what you are gonna be, based on, they provide you with a test or things like that. And like, sure, it probably is true with like doing those tests and like getting you to, but for a lot of people it doesn't really work out, just because it's still, there's still so much more to life, and so much more experiences that people need to experience before making that call of like what they can do to either put back into society or to find that fulfillment in themselves.
Yeah. And when people struggle to kind of find that, it can also lead them down a bad path of adrenaline-filled choices or easy paths that are actually very dangerous. So walking the criminal line.
Yeah, walking
Because-
criminal line, and or even, like, let's just even say straight edge. How many families out there are not doing so well, or how many couples are not doing so well just because of like their, the thing that they thought would be fulfilling with their job. But like talking about like doctors and stuff, most of the doctors I feel don't really care about people but more about the money.
Yeah, the money,
like
the
talking from like
status, how they're perceived.
exactly, just talking about the cultures the culture that I was brought upon, parents would tell their kids, oh, you become a doctor, you'll make a lot of money. Like, why is that isn't the doctor supposed to be helping people, or helping people, or curing people? Just not the money, but curing people. It's very wrong.
Yeah. Because then you have a lot of disgruntled people who, make complaints about doctors, or maybe, the doctor says something that, like, well, it may help for physical health, it actually does damage to mental health because they're just so,
Yeah.
apathetic and lacking compassion.
Exactly.
Yeah, congratulations, you gave them, meds or treated their high blood pressure, but now you were the last straw for the mental health and burdens that are weighing on them, and they said fuck it, and the goddamn doctor can't even see my pain, so what's the point?
Yeah, I think that's why I have a bit of resentment there, just because for me, that's what it was. There was already this laid out plan.
Mm-hmm.
And during college I saw that there was other ways that people were successful, quote unquote successful, or more happy. It wasn't just going through the traditional way of going through college or doing all these things.
So the non-linear
some
path?
people found like there's other paths that wasn't just the non-linear path that I could have gone through, instead of just dreading and hating everything about the years that I spent during college and stuff like that. Yeah.
So again, it sounds as though
it just felt, yeah.
Oh, good.
Go ahead. No, I wasn't really gonna say anything.
Felt as though it was extremely painful to not be living in your own body and self, but rather in the body of someone else, a husk.
Yeah.
What they wanted you to be. You didn't quite fit in there.
Yeah.
It was extremely uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. Like, I'm just an empty shell. I'm a nobody.
But
I'm a chameleon. I'm a ditto.
yeah, they tell you to be whatever it is they want, and you just transform.
Yeah, but it just looks slightly off.
Fake, not the real thing. There's something not quite right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Working towards noticing, catching myself with the things that have been ingrained with my in the past, being able to differentiate more self-love, being able to forgive myself, and continue the path of fulfillment.
So the two things that you feel are most important to you are rewiring yourself, or reprogramming, so that you can clean up your compass of your wants and needs, so that you can also figure out what you want in life. What will be fulfilling for you, so that when you try different things and have different experiences, now you're able to kind of feel things and be able to start plotting that path of what you really want to do. And it sounds as though you have one thing on your map that you're exploring with drawing, graphic design, animation, and working towards things in that direction is fulfilling for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the top 3 is I like that analogy, cleaning up my compass. Uh self-love, forgiving myself. And then continue on the exploring, I guess, the path of fulfillment and trying to figure just explore.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and continue on that path.
That's it. Just explore the map of life. Try different things, mark what you like, definitely mark what you don't like, and it'll help give a lot of contrast so that you'll be able to head more definitively in directions that you feel as though will lead to things that you like and that are more fulfilling. And when you have multiple dots on your map or icons for things that you like, you can start combining those things, and you can start being creative with it and kind of coming up with more combinations.
Yeah.
So
exploring my map.
Exactly.
Exploring the map.
So cleaning up the compass, what do you feel like you need to do daily, and you sort of already know already, to help take care of that?
Affirmations.
Yep.
Affirmations is definitely the biggest one. Just being more self-aware of thoughts, actions, and then either just noticing it, acknowledging it, if I need to try to fix it, and then try to just be consistent with my actions and thoughts. And I think the biggest thing is just having a positive outlook and just being more positive in general. I think if I keep up with that, things will also fall in place, but also not getting so blindly following that way, but just being positive.
I kind of hear not getting fixated on the negative, so that you give yourself more room to be authentically positive and happy and content with the different things in your life.
Yeah, I mean, like, just don't, like, for me, I just can't really blindly be positive. As in, it just,
because then that sounds like you're faking
I still have to be right. I kind of have to still be authentic but positive.
I just worry about that positive piece, because that seems like a slippery slope to forcing. Like, yes, you don't want to stay fixated on the negatives, but are you allowed to have, like a neutral, content, not up or down kind of day?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, not super fixated on being positive, but I'm gonna obviously have my days where I'm sad, or it's just having a crappy day or whatever. But if I at least try to not go so far down in my negative thoughts, and try to remember or remind myself the fulfillment.
So kind of seeing the good,
just bring some positive thoughts.
Seeing the good
and I'm not
things.
trying to like, yes, it's a crappy day, but it's just, it's just, I gotta have some of those days. You gotta have some bad to be able to get some good.
Well, I mean, in the same respect, the law of contrast says you need both because you can't appreciate one without the other. So sort of
exactly,
accepting. I'm hearing like accepting things as they come, looking for the silver lining, seeing the good and the bad, and not forcing it, but just kind of accepting it, and as a result, embracing the positivity that follows.
Yeah, embracing the positivity that follows. And I guess that's what I mean by like not blindly following. Yeah.
Okay. And that was all for kind of cleaning the compass, and then some of that goes hand in hand with being more self-compassionate or taking care of yourself, self-love. Because like the positive affirmations and allowing yourself to accept what you're feeling and make mistakes, and as you said, being conscious of it and aware of it and just kind of reprogramming. And then what was the third thing that you said? Compass, self-love, and
Just
what?
the fulfillment. So just continue on that path of fulfillment. Going through the fog of wars and just okay, it's just uncovering those fog of wars on the map of life.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. So so if we were to look at how, what we could potentially work on in this area, do you feel any resistance to getting outside your comfort zone?
No, I mean, in the recent years, I've been definitely going out of my comfort zone. So, definitely,
I was just gonna say, what do you feel like you would need to work on with in this area? Would it be strategies? Would it be coping with the emotions that follow?
With unfogging the going through the fog of war.
So with working toward finding fulfillment, what do you feel like you would want to work on or figure out to kind of help things be better?
Right now it's just working on my foundation in my skill set, and then being able, after getting a good foundation, having the technical work, having that real life work, and then being able to create those projects that I wanted to create for so long.
So I'm kind of hearing like a path of like art, graphic design, animation, and just really diving deep into it to kind of build a foundation and a portfolio so that you could expand on that. And I'm hearing just a lot of focus on that, but what else? Are there other places that you could look, or are you just going to put a lot of investment in this to really nurture it?
So I've definitely put in a lot of investment in my previously in different ways. Now it's more refining those and being able to put it all together to be able to create those projects. So I mean, really a lot of it's just constantly getting the inspiration that I need to keep going, just reminding myself, looking at the inspirations, the people that I look up to in animation, and then thinking back on what I needed the most during my, you know, those what do they call them? Those well, like the development years of my life. Having that
Your childhood?
uh no, it was like formative years, my formative years of just, you know, uh development and just reminding myself you know, why I'm doing this, and then constantly have inspiration, continuously challenge myself to be better in this realm, and then you know, just keep producing and just keep getting better, and just continuously put it out there.
So I just, you know, because I'm a challenger, and like, you know, you have this thing that you are very passionate about. Do you feel as though there are other areas that you could potentially explore to see if there are other things that you are also interested in?
Possibly. I don't really. Yeah, I'm sure there are, but I don't have any. It's kind of vague. I don't really have anything like straightforward. It's still kind of in the same direction. And then like the goal is to either inspire, help people, and things like that. So I mean, really anything that kind of involves those kind of things, I would be open to explore in
That's
that room.
perfectly fine to, you sort of have, you know, a checkpoint or like a beacon along, you know, the foggy path, and naturally people, you know, like being able to see and not be sort of blinded by the darkness. But I was just encouraging you to not be to not cling onto your only beacon in the darkness, and to venture out and, you know, still have the perseverance to find other beacons so that you light up more of your map. Perfectly fine to follow this one and pursue it, you know, as much as you see fit. I would just be worried about closing off other opportunities, you know, by accident almost.
And I mean, you know, along with this path, I still want to develop like authentic relationships, and meet every walk of life and experience those, and be able to, you know, experience different cultures too.
Well,
so
I was just talking more so about careers, because like fulfillment, that goes into like, you know, the different emotional needs with like competency and intimacy, safety, privacy, status, community. You know, it just goes into the human needs, and like totaling those things up is basically like, you know, your pie chart of fulfillment. Some people it's like 60% career, and then 20% family, and then, you know, smaller percentages of other things, and it could be wildly different for someone else. Maybe they're like 90% family, and then like, you know, 1%.
I think for me, with like career wise, I'm not so stuck on like what career to do, or I just kind of stick with things that, well, not even stick with things, but as long as still holds the things that I'm doing, you know, giving back to society, if it still holds true to like my values or what I find to be towards that goal, then it'll keep going towards that direction. I'm okay with doing doing different careers if it does go that path.
Hmm. So I'd say the most yielding thing from what I've heard is your cardinal direction is in healing and helping other people. So you can head in what might be referred to as that true north, and you can explore different things that help other people.
Yeah.
And
because I feel confident.
Oh, God.
I was just gonna say I feel confident in my skill sets and things like that to be able to adapt to whatever career, but as long as it still holds true to my values and things like that, I can still venture on.
Yeah, so a lot of this you're very well aware of, and I can tell that the validation and just being seen and heard was helpful. It's just that last goal, or the last thing that you want to work on, where I'm just really trying to encourage looking at other things a little bit more. Follow your passion, of course, which you've already mentioned, but just kind of giving, at least putting it on the back burner, getting some things that might help other people, and kind of getting more things cooking, because if you were to fully invest in this passion, and let's say you might burn out, or maybe you don't like it, or it's not as fulfilling as you thought it would be, at least then you would have already explored different areas and have other things to fall back on, rather than finding one beacon and then zapping it of all its juice, and now you're back in the darkness again. Kind of giving yourself opportunities to light up more beacons.
Right. Yeah. So right now I'm working, in a field that still is in that realm, and there is a lot of growth and path that I could do in this field too. I just and with the drawing and stuff, that's something I'm doing on the side. So I'm definitely not just super zoning out on like one thing. I think but I can't do multiple things at the same time. Yeah, it's a, I don't know. I'm definitely not trying to just, yeah.
So I'm hearing that you're working and then you're also drawing, and you could kind of consider that doing that at the same time. But in actuality, you work some days and then you draw some other days. So then you can also do some exploration on some other days.
Yeah, I could like go explore and like do experience different things. But that's what I meant, like when I meeting like different walks of life, exploring different cultures to get those different exposures that I may or may not know about, that still holds true to my value. So outside of work, like going out to different events or things like that, and meeting people or experiencing different things that could potentially impact a different direction towards what I was originally going to.
Yeah, and that's what I really want to coach you towards, is making space in your life to do those things. So you never know if something's going to turn everything upside down, and you're like, oh, I actually really want to head in this direction. You know,
Right.
screw my parents, screw what society told me, and following this path over here, I'm gonna kind of, do my own thing, and then boom, the first thing that pops up, I'm gonna like strictly stay to this path, and like fuck everybody else, and
Yeah.
that's just what I'm trying to kind of, the scale is a little bit tilted. First it was over here and now it's over here. Let's kind of balance out a little bit and give, some other things a chance, so that,
Right. Yeah.
things are more well-rounded.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely I mean, I just this idea that I've had has been just on my mind for so long that I want to make it into fruition. And if for whatever reason it doesn't turn out to be what I expected it to be, I do still have a lot of I'm hopefully still throughout here till when that does come to fruition, I'll have a lot of things to fall back on, or a lot of things that I can turn to try something else.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you are, well on your way and set up for success. A lot of it on your own part, and with just a little bit of minor redirection. I felt like this is very, very helpful for other people watching, especially in what you described. So, that being said, if you were to give advice, guidance, or a statement to everyone watching, what would you tell them?
This is the one I was trying to think of before the interview. The one thing to take
Henry,
away for everybody to take away.
Always be prepared. How about
Yeah.
you show some growth right here, right now, and you just say it straight off the heart.
Yep.
Unprepared.
So
you're human.
Yeah, unprepared. I'm human. I think the one thing I would recommend is really just don't stick to, really just what we just talked about, but don't stick to, follow like what you want to do, and if you mess up, and it's okay. There's still a lot of things that you could do, and there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of things that happen in the world, and there's a lot of changes, and there's also a lot of unknown that we don't know about, and that are still, there could be a new thing that could be coming around, and just, don't give up, keep going. There's a lot of things that you could be doing, and there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of things out there. Just don't give up. So looking, from seeing how like I'm so far away from that tree in the distance, that it just looks so bright, and like I just see something over there. Something, it's not like too clear, but it still feels like there's something there that I should still go to. Where like everywhere around me is kind of just blank and empty, whereas that is kind of the brightest thing.
So it's the beacon. It's a path to take.
Yeah. And like, I don't see any clear-cut paths for me to take there, but I don't feel like I'm gonna die just running towards it, but I feel confident.
So your path awaits. Venture off into the unknown.